I hope you're doing well. Um, I want to just take a moment and think about something that is interesting. We've been doing the series on Wednesday nights regarding uh, marital relationships or just plain relationships. Uh, it covers a broad range. I've spoken in the past that we've gotten these concepts or these points from a book called Why You'll Marry the Wrong Person. It's put out by a society in London. I can give you the information if you need it, but it's an interesting little book, and it has these points. It describes all of the, if you will, the quirks or the presuppositions that we bring into a relationship that are harmful. And obviously, these are observable, rationally approached, I agree. And from that viewpoint, the Bible should have an answer for the effects of the fallen nature in relationships. After all, God created marriage. We know it's an institution that He instituted there in Genesis chapter 2. And so it's obviously something that's important to Him. And probably one of the most interesting ways to look at this is in a little book called Malachi. And we all know of the prophet Malachi, and we understand that oftentimes people refer to it mainly in chapter 3 about tithes and offerings. But actually the book begins with people despising the name of God by offering to Him offerings that are maimed or blind or in some way, less than perfect, not their best, and expecting God to bless it. And I think that really speaks to all of us as human beings, do we not? We kind of offer up a partial sense of obedience or faithfulness or just main reverence. And we expect somehow that God is just going to work everything out in our life. And we understand that that's certainly not the way it should be. That God wants all of us. He wants to literally capture all of us. He wants to replace us with Himself, and He wants us to lovingly adore Him. And we can talk about that more. But in chapter 2, one of the things that follows this false relationship with God is a disdain for marriage, meaning that it's not held in the esteem that it once was. And He actually tells them that you're setting aside or divorcing the wife of your youth. And He said, as a result of that, I've cursed your blessings. Now just think about that for a moment. When our life is out of kilter with our God, we can play games with that all we want, but we know in our heart when the decisions that we're making are just merely selfish decisions. We're doing these things strictly for our own benefit. We want it, we get it. We don't even consider the ramifications. We just do what we want. As compared to a time when we think about the decisions that we make, even in those little neutral areas, those gray areas that have no real value, but they might have value in terms of the amount of worship it deprives God of. Meaning that, yeah, I'd love to have season tickets to the Seahawks game, but in so doing, I also would be absorbed on Sundays, right? And I wouldn't be able to satisfy the worship that God demands in terms of fellowship. It would be, now I could say that God's allowed me to do this, and I wouldn't argue that, but let's be honest. You've taken something and placed it in a position where only Christ Himself should be. And we can say that about many things. But just take a moment and think about how important our testimony with our loved ones are. Now, there's nowhere in the Bible that says that if a person is married, they're going to get along in every area, that everything's just going to be perfect. You have two sinners under the same roof. You have two people that have human natures, they're fallen natures, they have selfish ideologies. I mean, it's who we are. And they're under the same roof. But Christ says that commitment that you have with that person is a testimony of the love that I have for you. We're thinking about Ephesians chapter 5, and literally verse 22 and on. It's a testimony of the love that I have for you, the way that the wife responds to the husband, the way that the husband loves the wife. All of these aspects are a testimony of how I relate to you. Your love for the Word is typical of the love that I have, or the Word that I've used to wash, to cleanse you. It creates within you the ability to see each other in a light that you wouldn't have seen each other, to get past your personalities and get into literally a faith attitude towards one another, to look past the imperfections, to be able to look past all of the elements that seem to detract, and to be thankful for one another, because you're viewing it as only I can view it, he says, that Christ himself views it. What does that say to the world when somebody looks in at a relationship, and it's not just merely, how can I say it, all kinds of fireworks and sparks and everything, but two people that just simply respectfully adore each other, and they care, and they take care of one another, and they watch over one another, because they respect the God that they know and love. And that very love has been brought into the relationship. What does that say to the world? A world full of self-serving people, people that are taught to gratify themselves above every other demand. It says a lot. And beyond that, we know it speaks to our children. Think about the people that have stood out in your life. Are they the people that achieved? I'm not saying that we don't respect people that achieved. The people that stand out in my life are the people that did the simple little thing of just being a family, loving each other, through thick and thin, through the imperfections of humanity, through children that gave them trouble, but there was how can I say it? There was a cement that held them together. It was the Spirit of God and the Spirit of Christ and his love in their heart. That speaks volumes, eternal volumes, I might add. Till next time, friends, God bless you.